Hey, welcome to the Ordinary Black Professionals. I'm Nicole,
And I'm Stefan.
and today we're talking about company culture. So, what exactly is company culture? We talk about it a lot, we hear a lot about people referring to it. What exactly is it? So, it can be defined as a set of shared values or goals or attitudes that an organization practices and categorizes themselves on.
And today we're going to talk about some of the attributes that we've seen from companies that we've worked for and how that shaped our experiences.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
do you want to start off with some of the
yeah.
company culture attributes that you've seen?
Yeah. So let's start with had this experience working in this company one time. Um I was brought in as quite a senior member of the team, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to be working on this project. I'm doing DevOps. I'm gonna have maybe some input into the project and be able to talk to some of the team members there. It was consultancy as well, so I thought, right, I'm gonna have the ability to like talk to the customer, and I like doing that as well. I like talking to the customer and seeing what they want and trying to shape what I'm building to suit what they're providing. But I quickly learned that as soon as I walked in there, that they had this company culture of like a crazy hierarchical culture, right? And it was deeper than I had even seen before. And it was so deep to the point where I'd walk in and um, and they'd say, right, so you work on the system, um, doing automation or the DevOps part, and we over here, us managers, will talk to the customer.
Mm.
And they literally, the entire time I was there, I couldn't speak a word to the customer. They wouldn't allow me to.
But that's how often it is when you walk into an environment or you're in a company that's super hierarchical. It's like you're a certain level, so therefore you can only do X, Y, and Z.
Mm,
And those people who are more senior can do, A, B, and C. Like there's a clear definition of what you can and can't do. And I'm not talking about roles and responsibilities or the
yeah,
interesting work that you can do. I'm talking about who you can and can't speak
I
to
know.
in the office,
Mm,
um, who needs to kind of like validate your work, going down to the extent of who needs to review your emails before you can send it off to a particular person, and also down to who's respected and who's not. Like I've been in worked for clients before where the hierarchy runs so deep that if you're more junior, you're just not even respected.
nah,
And yet, but the people who are kind of managers or more senior, just because they are that level, people should give them more respect or value what they're saying even more. And I just think that's, as we're moving into, we're in 2020 now, we need to just move away from that way of thinking. But
mm,
so many companies out there, consulting or otherwise, still have such a hierarchical approach to how they, I don't know, how they like what their culture's like and how
yeah.
employees or how colleagues treat other colleagues.
And you would think with a company with that type of culture that they were like a really old traditional company. This company was young. This company was
Mm.
like born in like 2000 and
But
something.
why do you think, I don't know, why do you think companies end up being so hierarchical? Like I'm a senior manager, so therefore you need to look up to me, you lower level graduates or you lower level analysts. Like how does it even, I've got a few ideas on how it kind of how companies get there or
Yeah.
why companies hold on to having that hierarchical kind of mindset.
Well, it's kind of comes down to their values, right? And what
Do you
they value,
think,
I think so.
but I think the values, most companies' values is like, oh, we will respect each other and we listen and we work together and
Hmm.
we're collaborative and all that stuff. Like they all kind of say the generic buzzwords essentially.
Yeah.
I think it's a power thing.
No, no, definitely. But I think the reason why it's a power thing is because it comes down to its values. Because one of their values are, you just talked about value of respecting each other.
Mm,
Well, no, their values are not respect each other. Their values are respect me for my power, right?
mm,
And so, in order to reach that level of people being able to respect me for my power, I need to hold on to power.
yeah,
And so then you just breed that. So well, that's why directors, sometimes people are not even allowed to speak a word to them,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. I worked in one company that shall not be named. And the I think it was the CEO. Yeah, it was the CEO of the company. He sat in his own little private office, and the office was made of glass, and he could see out towards like everyone else who worked for that company.
Yeah.
And when he and I remember on my first week or couple of weeks to join the company, I was told that you can't speak to him. It's like even if when he leaves his room to go make a drink, like you can't say morning or say
Is
anything
it?
to him. Yeah. And even though he like worked in his own little office,
Yeah.
we had like a shared kitchen, and there was a microwave in there. And if anyone used the microwave, he would tell them off. Even
He would tell them off for using the microwave.
yeah, and make a whole big like complaint about how it would smell and how you like you're polluting the atmosphere and all this other stuff.
He
Even
can't get a
even though he
microwave in his own
even though
office.
he wasn't even sitting in the room with us anyway, he could like go back to his own little office
Yeah.
where it smelled however he wanted it to smell. And I think this is the thing I hate about like when people have a grudge about microwaves. Not everything you microwave and not all the food you put in a microwave has a smell.
Yeah.
I could just be heating up some rice
Mm,
and like I don't know something else. Can't think of anything else goes with rice, but I could be like rice and chicken. It's not
mm.
gonna have a smell, is it? It's not mackerel or tuna.
No. I mean, one of
But
the things of
anyways,
this hierarchy thing is that you do not want to be bottom of that tree.
no. But it's all title. So
It's
and this is why
titles.
in
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
companies when you first leave uni, my experience at least is that you're so eager to get up the ranks
Mm.
just so you can get a little bit more respect and
That's it.
not
It's
get
all
shat
about
on.
respect.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's all about respect. And one of
bit
the
more
that's
credibility,
yeah.
and your views and opinions are listened to. And so often is the case when you come in that no matter what you say, even if they're valid, no one's going to listen to it because it's coming out of like a junior person's mouth. But if an MD was saying it or a senior person, it would suddenly have more weight, more gravitas,
Mm.
more kudos, or not kudos, but yeah, more gravity.
And I was surprised about that scenario that I was saying because I walked in as an experienced hire and I thought,
Yeah.
yeah, I, I've been in this game for a while. I'm gonna do my thing. And then they basically shut me down. I was like, no, you're not allowed to speak to anybody. You're
Mm,
only allowed to do your job, and that's it. And not only that, you must come in early and leave late. And you must do exactly as we say.
yeah.
And don't even think about working from home on Fridays. That's how it was. So I was very surprised. I didn't last there very long. Yeah, but sometimes with that same hierarchy thing, it can go the other way. They can have a very flat structure, right?
Mm,
Which again, you can find that like more sometimes in younger companies because they kind of need a flat structure, like startups and stuff like that. But you can sometimes find that in more traditional companies too. It just depends on their values. But sometimes I feel like with the flat structure, there can be the case where um, with the hierarchy, the people above take responsibility, and they take they're responsible for all the people below them in the tree, what they're doing, um, their deadlines, etc., etc. Right? But with the flat structure, sometimes nobody takes responsibility. I find.
do you think that's true?
I think so.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
I think there can be a lack of people taking the initiative, taking responsibility.
No, no,
Sometimes
no.
it's
I
not
don't think
always it's
that's
not always the
true.
case, but I feel like sometimes it is.
Interesting. So as I feel like with a strap with a flat structure, you can find that everyone takes responsibility, everyone takes ownership
It can be, yeah.
because they feel like we all have a piece of the pie. Whereas when I've worked in companies where it's been super hierarchical, I'm like, well, I know that it's like the senior manager or my manager that has his head on the line or
That's right.
her head on the line or
Yeah.
but if it's all flat, it's like, oh, we're all in this together.
I think there's a middle ground. I think
Mm,
there's a middle ground to me. But I think with the hierarchy one, that what you just said is totally true because I worked in the same position that I was talking about, and of all the people that worked in my at my level and were doing my work, absolutely nobody took responsibility for anything.
mm,
Like they all did their stuff. And I remember the managers saying to us, "Oh, can you guys make sure you do this and that and this and that?" And nobody did it because nobody cared because they were not given any responsibility,
Yeah.
right? They were not given any power or anything, so
Mm.
they did not care at all.
Is an organization ever truly flat though?
I don't think so. There's no such thing. No such thing.
Because I feel like
And I
when
don't
you're
think it should be.
if you're in a company of 50 and you're grad out of uni
Mm.
and then there's a CEO, you and the CEO are not,
No.
you're not, you don't have equal standing. And nor should you, because it's I run the company, I'm the founder of the company.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think
Um,
there should it should be. I don't think there's anything. I don't think that flat structure exists. I mean, people will talk as if it does,
mm,
but I don't think it does.
I don't think it does.
And I don't think it should either.
I
There
think,
should be a level of people taking responsibility at higher levels, people bringing on the junior members and giving them, help and a bit of responsibility, feeding them responsibility, not giving them too much,
mm,
rather than taking all responsibility from
yeah,
them and just saying, you know, why don't you press a button over there and
yeah,
let me know
exactly.
how
Or
that goes?
why don't you make that PowerPoint look nice and format it? And do you know why it can never be truly flat? Because not everyone has equal accountability.
That's right. Yep.
And that's the difference. Like, not your junior people are not going to be accountable for the success of a project or a piece of work. Like, their heads aren't truly going to be on the line. I think when I think of hierarchy, I think some are super steep and then some are a little bit more flatter. Like, it's not, completely horizontal, but it's got a bit of an incline, but it's not as steep as other companies are.
Mm, mm,
And then I think you've also got kind of, so you've got companies that are, run by a hierarchy, whether that's a super hierarchical or a bit more of a flat hierarchy. And then you have organizations where you have the blame culture,
oh yeah.
which I think for some people, maybe even especially those who work in consulting, that blame culture, you're all too familiar with what that's like. So this is when people are scared to get things wrong.
Mm,
They don't want to take risks. They're scared of getting criticized by their peers around them or people more experienced than them. Um, and they're reluctant to take on that responsibility because they are scared they're gonna mess it up or they're gonna get criticized.
yeah.
They don't want to speak out at all. And I have definitely been in, worked on projects where that blame culture has run, like has been strong,
Yeah.
and you are so scared to get anything wrong that you end up not taking risks. You end up um like not showing people your work because you only want to show it when it's truly like when it's 100% accurate and 100% right.
Yeah.
I've been in situations before where I've seen, more senior people than me shout, like, no exaggeration, shout at others that have made a mistake or thrown like their pen across the room because they've made like another colleague's made a mistake on a PowerPoint deck. Like, ridiculous things like that. And so it creates this culture where you feel like you just cannot fuck up.
Yeah. I mean, and I think particularly blame culture comes from the management, because the reason why your peers at the same level of you are scared to make any mistakes is because basically somebody's going to snitch. Somebody's going to say it was that guy. And
Yeah.
by saying it's that guy, the management are then going to, you know, put some sort of attachment to that, whether
Mm.
that's like that's going to come up later in your review
Yes.
or
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
yeah,
Because I tell you what, and I've been bit in the bum by this many a times. People will hold on. If you make it, I realized, this is not all companies, but previous companies I've worked at, if you make a mistake
yeah,
or do something wrong or say something wrong, that person will hold it against you. And
yeah,
then when it comes out to you in, your annual review, whatever it is, you find them bringing up something that you mentioned 6 months ago.
yeah,
And you're like, what? Either A, I told you that in confidence, or B, you knew that I was like struggling with this or I made a mistake in this area, but they brought it up to you again.
yeah, definitely.
Now at work, I don't tell, I try not to open up too much because I know how easy it is for people to throw that stuff back at you. And I've been bitten way too many times by that,
Mm,
by thinking that, I'm having a confidential conversation with someone or, I'm saying this to try to get help and support, and then 6 months later they've thrown it against me.
You know what it does? This type of thing, blame culture, it destroys trust.
It 100% does.
Completely destroys trust. Let me tell you what. I was doing like I was building infrastructure for a company one time, and I walked in to the office, normal morning, walked in, and we were having our team stand up. So I went in the room, had the team stand up, and we'll usually talk about what we're going to do. But this time, the manager stood there and said, he started shouting immediately in the morning. Just the first thing he ever said to us was him started shouting, and he said, "Who left the server unsecured last night?" Right?
Oh shit. So I'm not putting up my hand.
The room went silent. There's about 7 of us in there, right? 7 of us that could have done it,
And you're already feeling
right?
sorry for the person who has. Because the person
Boy,
who has, they know who it is.
trust me. And then he says it again. Who did it? Who did it? And I'm like, shit, what did I do yesterday? There's no way it could be me. I've never, ever done that before. There's no way.
It's
I
always the
started
first way.
retracing my steps. I was like, it wasn't me. Can't have been me. And then he said exactly what server it was, and I was like, I definitely did not touch that one. That
Phew.
it's definitely not me. And then I'm like, so the room stays silent for like 5 minutes, and he is just shouting, "Who did it? Who did it?" Right? Because he was mad because the server got hacked, and the customer found out because they got notified, right? And he got in trouble for it because he's responsible
Yeah.
because he's the
He's
manager.
accountable.
He's accountable. And but we're the team members. We have to take responsibility for our actions, including what we did when we log off, make sure everything is secure. And someone didn't. We came out of that meeting without anybody admitting to it. They later found out who it was, and that person
Finished.
finished, finished,
That's on.
finished. And now that his action of what he did, right, added a blame culture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we all knew from that point we couldn't make a mistake,
Yeah.
right? And we couldn't admit to the mistake,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so because we couldn't admit to the mistake, it just destroyed trust. I couldn't tell my colleagues
Yeah.
if I did something wrong.
Oh,
And
this makes me so annoyed because I
yeah,
think it's so, so important. Having worked in a company that has, or been on projects that's very much blame culture, and then having worked in projects or organizations that don't have any type of blame culture, I can see the benefits of not having a blame culture, 100%. Because you actually learn when you make mistakes,
yeah,
and having that trust with your colleagues makes such a big difference to how you can approach situations, or knowing that, having that safe space, that you don't get when people, you come into your first meeting on a Monday or whatever, and someone there's shouting, telling you who's left the
yeah.
not secured the server. I'll give you another example what happened to me. So I was sitting in the office one day, and two of my colleagues left the room and had a meeting with an MD. Then, probably about an hour later, they came back into the room, and they were the same level. And one of them sat down, and the other one stood up, started shouting, and said, and pointing to this guy, and said, "Never again will you make that mistake again and embarrass me like that in front of the MD." And what this guy had
These guys are
done,
the same level.
yeah. And the
Okay.
the guy who had sat down, they had this meeting and they was walking through a PowerPoint, and they got to the meeting and he just didn't have the PowerPoint up. And he couldn't remember where it was. So he spent like 5 or 10 minutes, clicking around trying to find the right PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And so the guy who was standing up was shouting, saying, "You need to be prepared. You need to be better than this. You're not an analyst. You're not a junior that's just come in. You should know to have the PowerPoint ready for the MD and not waste the MD's time." And I thought to myself, and then he kind of stormed off the room, and it
Mm.
was really embarrassing. And in hindsight, I really wish that I had said something because I feel like I was complicit. I just sat there and let it happen. But there was other people in the room. He publicly shamed this guy for making this mistake, which is such a small mistake in the grand scheme of things. But I had wished I had said something to say, called out that bad behavior. But that's, he had maybe made a mistake there by not have been organized. But all that took is for you to pull that person aside and be like, you know what, next time, just have that deck up and ready. And then so when the meeting starts, it's already there and we can just run through it. Not to like publicly shame him and embarrass him and pointing his finger and shouting. I just think nothing's that important.
And
You
also,
haven't lost, it wasn't like your situation
yeah,
where like someone got hacked
yeah.
or like money, potential money could have been lost. It was just a deck.
I mean,
And that's
there's
a
so
lot.
many things because
There's so many things.
he blamed him for the PowerPoint. He didn't look to blame himself.
Yeah.
Is
What can
one,
what
right?
can I have
Because
done differently to support that colleague or to make
yeah,
sure that that colleague was prepared?
yeah, like
Ask the
w-
question beforehand.
like before you walked in, like you got the deck,
You're
everything
good to
ready.
go. Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna say this, you're gonna say that. You know, even just the day before, you could have done that. You know,
Mm.
or
This is the
I mean,
thing. People are so quick to blame other people and not look at themselves. And what blame culture does is it just, yeah, as you said, creates that environment of like being scared to speak up, but it also allows people to get away with bad behavior. You should never be at work and someone's shouting at you,
that's right.
ever.
And in
Unless you're
both
out
our
here
and in both
saving
our
lives,
examples, they were shouting.
yeah.
Yeah,
Unless you're out here like saving lives or doing something absolutely amazing, stopping human trafficking or something like that, there's no reason for someone to be shouting at you at work at all. Shouting, swearing, making you feel like you're, 5 inches tall, all of that stuff, that's bad behavior. But a lot of companies allow that to go ahead. And I don't know how you get to that place where, you're allowed to essentially bully people at work.
yeah. I mean, you're completely right.
Because if you're going into work and someone's always making you feel like you're 5 inches tall, it's bullying.
And what it
In the
is
same way
that
you wouldn't tolerate bullying at school, it shouldn't be tolerated at work. But
it's
again,
fear
we
of
don't speak
retaliation.
about it.
It's
It
fear of
is
retaliation
because you
because
think that person's going to come back to you
yeah,
and bring up in your end of year review.
yeah. And you know what? Yeah, sometimes you get these training courses from the companies say, don't fear retaliation. Um, there's a process.
Yeah.
Speak to HR.
Oh, yeah,
And
right.
we and to be fair, right? Maybe some companies it's true, but it's never been true for anyone I've ever worked for.
It's never for the people that I know who have gone to HR about bad behavior. Um, yeah, they've not had a good
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. So, if that's the company culture, then boy, that's what you got to deal with.
It is.
And it only can be changed from the top down. Yeah, so
Mm.
that MD, when he walked in, did he, maybe you wouldn't know, right? But did he berate them for not having the PowerPoint, or was he, well, oh,
Do you know what?
never
I
mind,
wasn't in
guys.
the room, but probably not.
Maybe we can just do this at 2 o'clock,
Mm.
and it's not a big deal. Or if he absolutely berated them, and then he goes and breaks the other guy, and
Yeah,
it just
just a
comes down the
chain.
tree.
But I think sometimes when things happen, we just need to put it into perspective a little bit.
Hmm,
And I know that sometimes can be hard when it seems like work is oh so important. But if you just put it into, especially with the year that we've had, I just feel like it's been a year of perspective,
yeah.
and it's just not that deep. It's just not that deep, which almost kind of brings me on to the martyr
Mm,
work, the martyr
that's true.
company culture. So this essentially is, I think we all know one person who does this, the person who always works long hours, complains, but they always work long hours. They work on their holidays, they have plans for dinners, but they cancel it on the day because work is so important to them. And they just sacrifice all their personal commitments because of work. They come into work when they're not feeling very well because work is, again, so important and they must get it done. That's the martyr culture.
Mm.
The culture where people feel like they can't um essentially have that work-life balance. They must sacrifice themselves for the company.
And you know
This
what?
is something I cannot understand.
And
The
don't
company
forget,
will let you go.
well, don't forget as well, and they get praised for it.
And they get praised for sacrificing their personal life.
Yeah.
Well done for coming into work. You know, like they may people may say. I mean, I had this example happened a few months ago. Someone was working um and was feeling really really poorly. This was someone on the client side. They were working. They was feeling really really poorly, and people on the call like, no, stop working. Go home. You're not feeling very well. Log off. Stop working. And when that call ended, I spoke to, someone else who was on the call a few hours later, and they were like, gosh, aren't they great? They're just still powering through even though they're not feeling very well.
Aren't
So
they
do you know what
great?
I mean? It's like even though that person's well, and when you tell and everyone agrees, yes, you shouldn't work when you're ill, it's
Mm.
still on the flip side of like, but good or like, but isn't that impressive that you're still able to keep fighting through? Do you know what I mean? It's that
Yeah.
weird, like,
Because
you're still impressed by it.
because the messages, because they know, because they work for the company, right? So they know internally of what their culture is. And they know that their culture is actually that if I do log off because I'm sick, I'm gonna get a bad stick for it,
Mm,
right? So they say I'm sick, but but I'm gonna work through it. I'm gonna battle through. It's hard and blah blah. And then they get praised for that,
yeah,
and the messages that they're receiving from their colleagues, which is "will log off," they know that's fake.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody knows that's fake.
yeah.
This message that I'm telling you, go home, don't worry, is a fake message.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very true, very true, very true. It's like when people ask you, "Oh, how are you doing?" But they don't really care. They just want you to say okay, so you can start like the meeting. Do you know what I mean? Like if you were talking to someone, go, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" You go, "Oh, I'm having a really bad day." Everyone's like, "Whoa, like that's kind of not what I want you to say.
Yeah,
Just say okay and keep
you're
it
meant to say
moving."
all good.
All good, I'm good. Keep it moving. I just feel like I just don't understand that culture. I never want to work for a company that's like that. I don't want to be on a project where people are like that. Don't get it.
I
I
saw this
think it
company.
it sounds I think is absolute nonsense.
Mm,
Absolutely nonsense. Why you like it just annoys me so much because you want to sacrifice your personal time, work all these long hours, sacrifice your holiday, sacrifice your health for a company who would let you go in a heartbeat.
yep,
Like,
definitely.
let's keep it real. They'll make you redundant in a heartbeat. And you would have given them your blood, sweat, and tears. For who? For some organization that's not even your own.
Mm,
Don't get it. Don't get it.
mm,
Especially when it's your health. Again, this year has shown nothing is more important than your health. And you're willing to, slow down the recovery of your illness so you can work? Don't get it. Especially, it's not the situation where if you don't go into if it's a case of you don't go into work, you don't get paid,
hmm
yeah, then I totally get that. But if you're on a contract like us, you get paid, you get a salary, you
You
get
get sick leave.
statutory sick leave, all that other stuff. Don't get it. You're not on a 0 hour contract. You can take sick and still claim, get that sick pay.
Yeah. Sometimes as well, there's just companies that will advertise, obviously, that they're amazing, and also they provide unlimited holidays.
Mm,
But what you don't know with the unlimited holidays is a catch. And that catch is you get unlimited holidays, but you're actually expected to work all the time,
mm,
right? Um, so anytime you go and try and book a holiday, you'll get feedback from your colleagues and stuff. Is that, are you going on holiday? Really?
yeah,
Really?
I've heard that. I've heard that. Yeah,
And again, so that you have to work through, burnout, everything. You can't take a day off because you're getting these messages that people are thinking badly of you because of you just want to take a day off.
yeah.
You can't even take a day off. You can't even chill out. That's not good.
I agree. That's not good. That's not good. And I just think, nowadays millennials, they want that work life, not to say that, the previous generation didn't, but I think millennials hold companies to a much higher standard
Yeah.
than maybe our parents did. So we're like, we're not going to work for someone who, work for an organization who doesn't care about diversity and inclusion, or doesn't want to give us a work-life balance, or won't give us a pay rise or bonuses, because you can just leave and go somewhere else. So I think we're quite.
We're more likely to, although there's still lots of us that would still go ahead and go straight into those businesses and carry on the flag of the blame and martyr and
Do you know what
culture.
though? I was saying this to you the other day. If you don't like a company for whatever, and I'm not talking about this year, because obviously this year it's hard, but on like a normal year,
Yeah.
if you don't like a company because of pay, because of how they treat you, because of the work, whatever, whatever, you can leave. And I really, really think people don't always consider that as being an option.
Mm.
They'd rather just suffer it out.
I think it depending on the industry, it's more difficult to leave because there's private sector and public sector and things like that, right? But
But specifically just about the consulting industry.
yeah, I think with consulting there's options. There's more options out there. There's lots of different companies, big and small, to choose from, and you can apply to them. You can at least try to leave.
You can at least try.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know, life is just too short to be somewhere, like to be working somewhere that you just don't like.
yeah, definitely.
But with the unlimited leave, I have heard that someone had told me that statistically, with companies that give you unlimited leave, most people will actually take less leave than they had before. So
Definitely.
let's say if they were the companies like, oh, you're entitled to 25 days leave, and then they switched to being like, oh, now you have unlimited.
Hmm.
Most of the employees will actually take less than their 25 days leave.
Yeah,
So it's almost like if you do work somewhere and that does give you 20, a unlimited holiday, you kind of have to say into your mind, well, let me make sure I at least take 25, or I at least take 30, or whatever your number is,
yeah.
to make sure that you're getting,
Getting good time off.
yeah, you're getting good time off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think it's a psychological thing as well. They give you unlimited leave. You then stop counting how many days you're
Yeah.
taking because you're not trying to reach the
Not trying
number.
to use, yeah, you're like, oh, it's unlimited. So,
Yeah, so you stop counting it, and then instead of towards the end of the year when your leave is running out, you just start taking whatever you've got
yeah,
left over. There's no leave running out,
no.
so you don't take that, and so you end up taking less leave than you would have,
Mm,
and and yeah, you kind of have to check. Sometimes limited leave is good. It just is it paired with a bad culture of people not taking leave?
that's the thing.
Is it paired with a culture of we will shun you if you take leave and that
Yeah.
sort of thing? Because I have seen that situation.
Mm. But then you could have unlimited leave and it be a really like positive culture.
Oh
Do
yes,
you know what I mean?
definitely.
Like we encourage you to take your leave. Like we
Yes.
encourage you to have a break. Where I work now, we actually have unlimited leave, and it is that culture of we want you to take your leave. Like we want you to take a break. Um, which is good. There's not that expectation just to work, work, work.
Mm,
So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. One thing as well that I have noticed from some companies is a culture of, let's call it like the clan culture.
mm,
People who are crazy for the badge. They're like football fans, right? They love the company. They're
mm,
crazy for the cause of that company, whether that company is selling a product.
yeah,
Um, it could be like Apple. Think about Apple and how people love Apple,
yeah.
and how the employees may love Apple as well. Like
Do you know,
they're
it's like
crazy. Their
fans.
their brand affiliation is so strong
Yes.
that they never want to leave that
Yeah.
company. Yeah, even
Yeah.
if that company is so underpaying them, they never
Yeah.
want to leave because they love it.
And those people, they tend to have a name. So I'm sure some of you there who work for some, like whatever company it is, you'll call yourself like you're a this.
Yeah.
Like there's a, like, where, if I'm not going to name any, but if you work for a particular company, you'll be like, they'll give you a name which shows that you've got a little chip inside you or
Oh
something
yeah,
to say that
yeah,
you're so affiliated with that
yeah.
company.
You're one of us.
You're one of us. You're
You're
one of
one of
us. And
us
I
now.
tell you what, with companies like that, you can tell who is not one of us. Like, it's
Mm.
obvious. The people who
And
are in the clan and those who kind of sit on the
yeah,
outside.
so sometimes when you join those companies, maybe you joined because you wanted a job, and and you wanted, you know, you don't love their products to death, but obviously you're here to work with the products and be a part of the team.
Yeah,
And then you meet these people, and they're so overwhelmed and positive about the products that they miss things,
yeah,
right? Because
agree.
they love it so much that they miss um the customer experience.
Mm.
They don't hear the customers properly, or something along those lines.
But do you know what it is as well? Even if it's not a product-based company,
Yeah,
when you have people in an organization who so love it, like love the company, that's their affiliated to it so strong, they can no longer be critical of the company.
that's right. Yeah,
And if somebody else is critical of the company,
you're not one of us.
yeah, you're not one of us, but they also like, I don't want to use the word shame you, but like they try to dull what you're trying to say because
Yeah.
they want to defend the company so much. The moment you criticize it, their brains can't even handle it.
Mm.
And once again, I don't understand that because this is an organization that you are in for probably a temporary amount of time. You're not forever going to be in that company from now until the time you retire.
And I find sometimes you can find that in startups, or you can find it in young companies that
Yeah,
hire young people,
yeah,
like grads and stuff like that. And if you've come in and you've been brainwashed as a graduate or something in that way, and you love it so much, 10 years deep in that company,
you,
you don't know anything else, right?
yeah,
And you're walking around thinking this is the only company for me, this is the only place for me, or this is the best thing ever.
yeah.
And
But do you know what? I can kind of get it if you're in a startup and you've been there from the beginning because you've been riding and dying and like you've seen the company through the ups and the
but
downs.
you can't
But if you
see the
don't have shares in that company,
mm,
you've got no, like, I'm not trying to bring everything back to money, but the company, you've helped
you've got
build,
no stake in it.
you've got no stake in it.
Yeah,
You've got no skin in the game. You've helped to build up somebody else's dream.
yeah. I mean, some people are happy with that.
And some people are happy with that, but like if you've helped to participate in someone else's dream and vision and you've helped to build up that company for them, I mean, yeah, feel proud in your achievements, but if you've got no shares or anything with it, then it's like,
What was that
well,
for?
yeah, like, I mean,
I mean,
it works out for the founders because you just got people to do it for you. You don't have to give them any of the reward.
they did benefit and get some reward from it, from the experience,
Okay, so they got
right?
personal
They got
development.
personal development from it. You could have got
This is
that
what I
personal
also
development
don't
elsewhere
like.
too, maybe, but yeah.
This is what I also don't like. What companies will try to do, they don't want to give you the pay rise or the bonus or anything like that, but they'll spin it around, and be like, yeah, but you really grew. Look how much personal development you've got. Okay, that's great. But are you going to be, paying my rent and my mortgage? Are you going to be helping me buy my house? Is personal development going to help me buy my house,
Mm,
buy my, first time house, whatever it is, whatever aspirations you have, you want to do, your financial goals that you want to hit?
mm,
No. But they love to turn it around sometimes, be like, oh, well, this has helped you personally.
mm,
Okay, well, I'll take those personal developments and take them over to somewhere else who's going to pay me what I'm worth.
mm. Yeah. I mean, as well, these people can have like a sense of belonging so strong. Like if you work for Apple, for example, that sense of belonging can be so strong that no matter what you say, they ain't hearing you. They're not hearing you.
But I hear that Apple benefits are very good.
Well, I
Maybe if
wasn't
I got all those
necessarily
Apple
talking about the
benefits,
benefits,
I'll
but
be a...
maybe the benefits are good. I expect them to be good. The company is rich as hell, but you know,
So I guess if we move on, we've also got the people focused companies as well.
yeah,
So the organizations who really focus on that personal development, they're building relationships, they're helping you grow and all that other stuff, which
yeah,
is a massive, massive benefit.
yeah. That's great. I mean, anybody who joins a company, you should want you should want to see that, and not every company is doing that. believe me, not every company is doing that. They're not making it easy for you to improve yourself, to develop yourself. They're not providing facilities, time, money, resources for you to do that. And the ones that are, that is a definitely a benefit and um, great to see. And building relationships as well, like networking, meeting people that are like you in your industry, that are your peers, that are your network. That is important. So there are some things that um, attributes on company cultures that we do want to see, that we do like. Even the clan one, you know, it's good. It's nice to have a sense of belonging.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
nice. Like if I join the company and I feel affiliated with it and I feel like I love their product too, um
Yeah, you
and the
want that.
customers do, yeah. I
You
mean,
want that.
if I have an Apple phone, I love everything Apple, and I work for Apple, I'm probably happy, you know.
Yeah. The clan, yeah, I agree. The clan one isn't like necessarily a bad thing if you feel a sense of
Yeah.
belonging to the organization.
I
I
just
think
I
it's
just
having a
believe,
balance, isn't it?
yeah, having a balanced view is important.
Yeah,
Um, but yes, yeah. And also there are some companies that are like fast paced,
yeah.
that their culture is like go, 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 like don't worry about the details. That will come afterwards. That is sometimes their downfall with these companies, but the details will come afterwards. Just get it done. Just do it, do it, do it, do it.
Do you know the companies that I've heard are quite fast paced,
Hmm.
quite like, go, 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 are like the Monzos,
Yeah,
the Starling, kind of those new starter banks where they're really kind of trying to make sure that they're fast paced
yeah,
and changing direction.
yeah, yeah. So these, I mean, they change direction all the time because one day they're like, we're going down this road, we're gonna build this product, or we're gonna do this service over here, and then because they're agile in some way, a customer sends them in a different direction. They're like, all right, change tact, everyone on the other thing, everyone on the other thing right now. And so, you know, you got to be up and ready for that. You
Yeah,
got to you
yeah.
got to have the energy to really take that on.
Yeah. And I think with those fast-paced organizations as well, it's usually because they're tapping into a market that's maybe quite new.
Mm,
So the company or the industry is growing really quickly. So like they've had a large amount of growth in a short amount of time and has reached massive profits in the space of like 5 years. They're kind of turning around 100 million or something like that. So they're having to be really, really quick,
yeah,
and they're having to employ people who are super, super quick as well. And I think some of the newer companies, like subscription-based companies, or kind of those challenger banks, or even some of the new product companies, they're the ones who re- like are super fast paced because they're trying to move so quickly to customer needs and
exactly.
demands.
Yeah.
They can't afford to be they can't afford to be slow.
So,
Not to say that
yeah,
they're doing
it's
things.
the fast growth as well. Like when
Yeah.
you're, if you had something and then now all of a sudden, maybe over the pandemic, your business has quadrupled, like just
Mm,
200, 400, 500 times what you're doing. Now you've got so much more demand. Everything's changed. You've got, you employ 50 people, for example, and now you're just sending them left, right, and center
yeah.
to just meet every demand you can.
Yeah.
And because you want to please everyone and everything,
Mm.
sometimes that's very difficult. And you've got to be a type of person that's got the energy to work in that type of place, to keep up, to be positive, because it's not easy.
Could you do it? Or would you want to work in that
Um,
kind of environment?
yeah, I wouldn't stay for a long time.
Aid you in it.
It would age me, definitely. I wouldn't. I would do it for a while though. I've seen something like it before, and I've had like wanted to be involved. Um, but yeah, I would maybe do it for maybe 5 years maximum, and 5 years is probably
That's
stretching it.
quite a long time.
That's probably stretching it. I'll probably end up doing 3 years or something,
Mm.
and then I'm out because I'll start getting wrinkles.
Yeah. I think I think I would do it as well. I think it's nice to work in an environment where things are like quick
Mm,
and everyone's like on the ball and stuff. I don't think you always get that in consulting,
mm,
where like every single project you work with all different types of clients that they're all going to be super switched on, super engaged, super quick, like super on the ball. Like that's not always the case. So it'd be good to work in an environment that is like that because you'll be working with some of the best like people and minds.
yeah,
So you would learn so much from them and grow and stuff.
yeah. Yeah, one thing, if I was to work in a company like that,
Have to
I
up your game.
I would. My game is pretty high.
Oh, okay.
Uh, um, I would have to search for stability. Like the work that I'm doing, I may be going left, right, and center right now, but I need to see where the stability is going to come from. I need
Mm,
to be working towards that to try and get some system or some stability in place because otherwise I just can't keep doing that. It's not going to be sustainable
yeah,
for any business, I think. It's not sustainable. So they're going to have to organize themselves and or I want to be involved in that organization.
makes sense.
Yeah, so with the company cultures, I think sometimes when you're trying to look for a job,
Mm,
yeah, it's funny because um, you can get rejected from a job, and the reason is because you don't suit the culture at that place. Have you
yeah,
heard
that's
that
some.
before?
I have heard that, and that is some BS.
Yeah, that-
Let's just end right there.
yeah,
It's some bullshit.
it's some
And
BS.
if anyone tells you that, if you've gone to an interview and someone gives you that as feedback, that is not a company you want to work with,
Yeah,
work at, work for even
yeah, at all, at all.
at all. Because what that's essentially saying is we have a particular mold of person
Yes,
and we like that mold and you don't fit into that mold and
it's
we
not
don't
actually
want it.
it's not actually about culture. It's not actually about company culture. That when they give you that response, it's not actually about company culture. It's more about personality
Yeah.
or um,
Terms of reference
a
and
persona
a
that
persona, yeah.
that
We
they want
we
to see.
hire, yeah. Everyone we hire is into football
Yeah,
and
or drinking at the pub after work.
yeah. And you come in now and say you like to go to the ballet and you don't drink.
Yeah,
And they're looking at you like, well, that don't really work for us. You don't really fit in here
yeah,
because we like football and we like to drink.
yeah.
So
And we've got our beers in the fridge right over there in the
there,
office,
yeah.
and ready to go on Fridays. And if you're not involved, sorry, mate, sorry, but you can't
You
you can't work
can't
here.
you can't be here because we don't know what we're going to talk to you about, and we all do this.
Yeah,
It just shows a lack of diversity from that organization and a lack of them wanting to hire anyone that is different.
because if they said you don't fit the company culture, what they're basically saying, because what is company culture? Shared goals and shared values, goals, attitudes, right? You don't share our values, right? What are the values you don't share? So what are the values that we'd expect? We'd expect respect. We'd expect
Collaborative
yeah,
working,
collaborative working. Yeah. And you may
all
come
the
in and
generic stuff.
you may expect those things to be part of their culture, and they may be, right? Are they saying that you don't suit that? I think for most people, you'll probably say, I do have respect and I
Mm.
do work collaboratively with people. I
And
mean,
I can
how could I not?
communicate, and I can,
Yeah.
yeah,
So what they're not saying that you can't communicate, you can't work collaboratively. They're saying you're just not like us,
you're
and
not like us.
yeah, sorry about that.
And we all know,
We want someone to banter with.
yeah. And having organizations where everybody is the same, and we're not talking of, yeah, where everybody is the same, does not create, diversity of thought, diversity of opinions, perspectives, all of that stuff. So that notion that everyone needs to be the same is not correct. But yet still, I have heard recruiters or companies themselves use it as a reason why you haven't gotten the job.
Mm. So, and one thing as well, let's make it clear what company culture is not. It's not when you go to a job and they're looking at and they're showing you around and say, hey, we've got ping pong tables. Hey, we've got beanbag chairs. Hey, we give you catered lunches. You don't have to pay for lunch. You get sandwiches right here. Can you believe it? We give Secret Santa gifts every year.
Yeah,
Some people get phones. Can you believe it? Oh my God, it's amazing. We get to go on trips every year in the
yeah.
summer. We get, oh my God, it's amazing. That is not culture.
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
benefits.
Those are benefits, and they are not a substitute for money in your pocket. They are not a substitute for your salary at all.
Yeah, yeah, because bean bags and ping pong tables is not a substitute for having a few extra hundred
You know, tell you, yeah,
take home pay.
that same company that I started with about the hierarchy,
They were a
um,
bean bag and ping pong
they
table
had bean
company.
bags and ping pong tables.
Now we're not slating the companies that do have a good old bean bag and a ping pong table.
And I did play ping pong twice.
So you got some benefit out of that. In WeWork, they have ping pong tables, don't they?
And they did, I did go, there was a trip as well. There was a
Oh
trip.
yes, that was a
Yeah.
trip. Not one that you went on though, so you didn't benefit that.
Yeah, it wasn't for me.
It wasn't for you. It was not for you.
Yeah,
That's
but
another thing with the trips as well. Like it all depends on who you're going with. So if you don't like, if you don't feel that sense of belonging, more than likely you're not going to want to go on that
mm,
trip,
yeah.
wherever they're going. Even if they're going to the Maldives. If you go into the Maldives, a bunch of people you don't like, you suddenly don't want to go. That's how they should caveat some of those things when they say, when they have it on they advertise a job online, they go, here's the
Mm,
benefits, like annual weekend away.
yeah.
It's put an asterisk, but it's like as long as you like you will enjoy it as long as you like the people. Because it's so
Yeah, yeah,
much reliant on
because
who's going. I
because
don't
you
do
have
things.
to sometimes on those trips, it's like they don't just like, oh yeah, we're gonna take you to the Maldives, and then when you get there, just have fun. It's not that. It's
No.
like we're gonna take you to the Maldives, and when we get there, you got to do what we do.
Yeah. 9 a.m. we all have breakfast.
Yeah.
10 a.m. we all do this.
Is this a school trip or what?
Yeah, it can very much be a school trip. I have to say, I do know the only companies I know that do like annual trips away, whether that's in the UK or abroad, are more smaller companies.
Okay. I think that really
That
covers
kind of covers company culture.
company culture
So they've got the
and our
martyr, the
experiences.
blame, hierarchy, clan, people focus, and fast paced company cultures
Yeah,
there.
attributes.
Yeah, all the different attributes. So if you've got any examples of kind of company culture that you'd like to share with us, get in touch at our Instagram page at Ordinary Black Professionals. And yeah, let us know kind of your experiences.
Yeah. We're looking forward to hearing them.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there and we will catch up with you all next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
If you have any questions or dilemmas, email us on ordinaryblackprofessionals@gmail.com, or we can be found on Instagram and Twitter at ordinaryblackprofessionals. Also, don't forget to follow us, subscribe, and leave a rating and comment.